Let me show you guys the other part. So this is the So to show you guys this part, this is the AEM Cold Air Intake system for the Veloster Turbo 1st Gen. It's stated that it's only made for 2012 to 2016 models. However, that's not the case, as 2017 and 2018 have the exact same engine. The one cool thing I really like about this is it is a 2-piece unit, which a lot of people don't like 2-piece units, but this isn't a 2-piece unit for a short ram. This is a 2-piece unit for cold air, meaning that if you didn't want it to be a cold air intake, you can actually not install this section, which is the last tube that goes downward right behind the fog light, and just remove it all together, put the air filter on, and then you have a short ram. Comes with all the required hardware and the couplers. So the only other thing is, for those of you guys that wanted like variety in color, AEM only makes a gunmetal or a chrome polished finished. So you're either gonna have to repaint it yourself if you wanted it to be a specific color, or go with a different option. Now, for those of you who've been looking at the AEM Cold Air Intake, you'll notice that, like the K&N, it's one of the most expensive ones, coming in at about $280, give or take. The main reason being is the K&N and the AEM have this little guy. And if you guys remember my little intake video that I made about, several months ago, this is a carb legal sticker. If you were to get pulled over in California and a few other states that adopted California's emission laws, as long as this sticker is on the intake, you will not get cited because it's legal. One thing I do want to note is that this installation instructions pamphlet that's inside the kit, if you notice, it says 2013 and 2014 Velosters, the carb legal sticker is effective, but 2015 to 2016 models, it does not apply. Even though it's the exact same engine, it states that it's not valid for those models. So here's the thing. The main reason why I went with AEM is because I have a 2016 Veloster Turbo R-Spec. This is actually outdated material, because if you actually go to AEM's website and you contact them, you'll see that the legality of the carb sticker has actually been extended all the way to 2016 models. So in essence, AEM's intake system is actually the only one that's legal up to 2016 models. If you contact K&N and you look up the K&N system, theirs is actually only legal all the way up to 2014 models. So whether that's something to consider if you're gonna buy it or not, that's up to you. Another cool thing is that the AEM system retains the bypass valve hose. So let me show you guys. So this hose right here still has an entryway into the AEM hose. From what I've seen, the engine intake system and other companies like Sixth Element, actually Sixth Element gives you an option, but many other systems completely bypass this portion, and they'll either have a cap or they just won't even include it in the build. So for those of you that are trying to either not do vent to atmosphere or keep the recirculating function, this covers that. So that's really cool. Again, the main reason why I went for this is, one, it's street legal. So if I get my hood popped, I'm not gonna have any issues. And where I live in California, the law is very, very strict with stuff like this. If you don't believe me, from my personal experience, I've been pulled over before and gotten reffed for non-street legal intake system. And believe me, once they find that, they just go through your whole car and try to nitpick every other thing. So I'm trying to avoid that. So we're discovering that the intake's not held on by much, but we removed my little makeshift one, and voila, it is off and in my hands. Dude, this thing is super heavy. Like, compared to the intake system, like compared to the aftermarket intake, this is heavy. And look at that. Isn't that weird? It's indented. Look at that. What the hell?
Well, it's designed though like that.
Yeah, it's designed like that, but that's just weird. Oh, look, even on the inside.
Yeah, because it's got the tubing to go.
Yeah, to go through the battery side. Yeah. Interesting stock intake that's super heavy, just to show you. Ooh, wow. And now it's time to install the intake. As you can see, I have the instructions right here. Wow, I don't know how to move my finger here. And I know you should be like, hey, it's not that hard to install an intake, but I like to actually follow instructions. So one of the things that we're being told is we need to remove this part, which previously I opted to leave on. So we will end up removing this turbo inlet, and then there's these little mounting grommets that basically you're supposed to mount one right here. So there's one mounted, and the other one is supposed to go right down here. Showing you the battery tray, you know, for reference. The instructions say to not clamp down or fully tighten anything until you're told to. So for the sake of not doing work twice, I just mounted these lightly, hand tightened. So we'll go from there. All right, so real quick to remove these, what do we do, Mad Maestro?
Mad Maestro, you just literally
push down the centers,
the inside, or the centers in this case, and then with your nails, if you guys want to, if you guys are manly enough,
pull out.
Pull out. Ta-da!
This thing should just quite literally come out. But there's a bottom portion, so let's try to get down there and see what we have to do there. All right, guys, so we're down in here. The other part that needs to be removed, and you might actually have to remove the bumper because the fog light wire harnesses are attached to it, is this part right here that I'm touching, and it goes over here. Now, it is in the way if you were to go cold air. Spoiler alert, I'm actually gonna fit this as a short ram. The only reason why is because for me, from my personal knowledge, the extra horsepower you would get from actually having cold air intake and going that route is negligible to me. It's honestly probably about 2 to 3 horsepower more, because essentially it's getting cooler air from there. And I honestly just don't want to run the risk of, you know, when it rains, driving through a flooded area and completely destroying my engine because it's soaked up water through the filter and then it hydrolocks. So that's also another reason why I bought this particular kit, is because I actually wanted a short ram that's legal. So I'm actually going to leave it in place. The instructions do show you how to go ahead and remove it. It's like in that portion right there. Again, I'm not going to do that. So just letting you guys know, it's really up to you, you know, if you're going to go that route. But again, I'm doing this as a short ram, so yes. Also, because the filter is going to sit right behind the grill, basically right here where the intercooler is at, the air should just come in directly and it should be decently cool. So again, I'm not really worried about the extra 2 to 3 ponies. You're not going to feel it. And I'd just rather be safe than sorry. So I have Luis holding the hose right now, and as you can see, it does come with everything. It comes with a bunch of hose clamps, obviously, everything to get the job done right. And it comes with these couplers. So I already put one on here, as you could tell. This is the side that's gonna go into the intake manifold where the turbo is located at. So, and then this is that little hose outlet that's gonna go to the valve cover. The hose outlet that's gonna go to the bypass, or yes, the bypass valve recirculation hose. And then this is where you would put the extra coupler if you were gonna go and do the extra hose to go cold air. But I'm just gonna put the filter on that because we're just gonna go short ram. So yeah. All right, so it slid in really easily. One thing I like is that these hose clamps, they actually have them pretty much opened up to the exact size that you need to have them. So that way you can easily clamp this on. So that's really kind of thoughtful of them. It's pretty well laid out. Liking the way it's looking. Have to pull these hoses up a little bit to get it out of the way so it seats better, but yeah, work in progress. All right, real quick update. There was a problem with my idea. This filter is way too tall for what we were trying to do. So essentially, to use the stock air filter, you would more than likely have to remove the bumper to basically remove that hose in order to even attempt to fit this cone filter. But even then, it's actually very, what's the word? It'd be very uncomfortable. So what I did instead for the time being is I'm actually going to contact AEM and order a smaller air filter element. So that way we have the original one. But for the time being, I'm reusing the air filter I had before. So what we did is we used the extra coupler that's basically supposed to hold to put in the other hose, the extension, and instead we put that on the hose so that way this actual cone filter could fit, because otherwise this cone filter is way too big. So as you can see, it's nice and snugly fit. We'll put a clamp on it and all that good stuff. But yeah, so far so good. A little quick note while this is all getting done is the outlet hose to the oil catch can is actually down here, if you can see where I'm pointing at. So it actually went underneath the intake. The inlet hose from the valve cover is right here, going above it. So again, not an issue because it's touching this, which is not ever going to get considerably hot to do any damage. We're just now going to reconnect the top valve cover hose and the recirculation one, clamp it down, and then we're all set. And then obviously put the battery back, connect it, give it a little bit, and then turn it on and see what it sounds like. All right guys, so we basically bolted this down. As you can see, all the hoses are routed. This one is the hose that's going to the valve cover. Again, here's the catch can hose, which I'm not too worried about it touching the intake. Here's the recirculation hose mounted. This is all done and done. I left this there just because in case I do want to go cold air in the future, I already have it mounted. And then we just bolted on the only support bracket that we required. So we're all set. We're gonna turn it on a bit. We just put the battery leads back on. So ready to fire this thing up. But there's one thing missing. So let me do the honors real quick. All right, so we're doing the honors. I'm gonna put the Carb Legal sticker on a flat portion. So I'm gonna put it right here, right above the stock AEM sticker. Let's do this the right way there. Whew. Nice. So if I ever get pulled over now, we are compliant and legal. This intake system is completely California road legal.
It's crooked.
Just kidding. It probably is a little bit, but whatever, dude. Real quick, having Luis put the cover back on. All right, guys, so it looks like Luis figured out Dewey. It's sitting on there nicely. Okay. The hoses for the catch can are going through the back, so you can't really see them too much. There's the intake installed, but everything cleared perfectly. Super in love. So now it's just time to crank it up. All right, guys, moment of truth. Last but not least, turning on the car. Let's see if it got any louder.
I can hear that intake. Sounds deeper.
All right, so basically, I'm gonna drive it around a bit. Sorry if you guys hear his next door neighbor. I'm gonna drive it around for a bit and see basically how much louder it gets on the road, and also just to see how big of a power difference I feel, because again, this is finally an official intake, replacing all the piping. In the cold air variation, AEM states that it is a 16 horsepower increase. So yeah, that should be a nice little gain. Again, I'm probably gonna lose a few because I'm not routing air directly from the lowest point where it would be cooler. But again, we should obviously see some decent gains. Lastly, before I wrap up, I am going to talk about the reason or a few differences and options in intake systems. This one as opposed to 3-inch piping versions and other aftermarket options. So yeah, stay tuned for that. All right, guys, so real quick, since I know someone's going to ask me, I'm going to do a poll now that the intake is installed. I will tell you, I've already done a few, and wow, the difference is night and day. And even with traction control on, it feels amazing. Like the car woke up quite a bit. So we're about to get on the freeway. I am currently in 3rd gear. So let me just straighten out and then I'll shut up. Okay, so I am in 3rd gear, 2,000 RPM roll, 30 miles an hour. Here we go, let's go. This thing just pulls insanely hard. I'm now in 6th gear, slowing down, 80, going normal. Alright guys, welcome back to home base. So one thing I should mention about that video is that I forgot to mention, obviously it was nighttime, so there was probably cooler air. I did that launch with traction control on, so I never turned it off. And the car just is way more responsive. It just pulls. Unfortunately, there was no cutoff like I was expecting with the stock intake system. So that was kind of a big takeaway, is that it improves the drivability kind of across the board. Your mileage may vary depending on the intake system you choose and if you go cold air or not. But I was very, very impressed with what we got accomplished, and I was overall happy with the product. Now, breaking it down, because there was a few things that might sound a bit controversial in there, especially because most people are told that a cold air intake system is better. In essence, it essentially is, because it does give you more horsepower. It's essentially going to be taking air from the lowest part, and as you know, science, hot air rises and cool air is more denser, so it'll be, you know, heavier, hence falling to the ground. So it essentially allows your car to pick up cooler air from the bottom. Most cold airs will mount right behind the driver's side fog light housing, and that's where it'll take up the majority of the air, and then obviously put it back into the intake stream. The main reason why I didn't do it is because even though it's not huge rainy weather, and this is obviously if you live in a place with a lot of weather, especially somewhere where it rains a lot, say like Washington or Oregon, you might want to go with a short ram intake instead of a cold air setup. Honestly, you're not going to lose a lot of the benefits. You lose anywhere from 2 to 4 horsepower tops, but again, you are saving your engine in the long run, because forbid you drive through a flooded area and then your intake just soaks all that up, hydrolocking your engine, and then you just have a huge mess. Another thing to note is the price of the intake that I bought. As of making this video, the average price on it is about $275, and there are other intake systems out there that are much cheaper from other third-party companies. The main reason for the price tag is, one, AEM, just like K&N and DC Sports, are name brands that have been around for a while, and they, you know, have proven themselves time and time again. They essentially have the money for R&D, and they dump a lot of money into doing research, you know, constantly doing different prototypes, dyno testing, things like that. So that's part of the reason why it's so expensive. The next part is, especially speaking from all of those 3 companies, they do invest a lot of money into trying to get these intake systems to be street legal for California and any state that uses California emissions testing. So that's the other part where you're paying the price tag. Now I'm going to try to put up a picture of the dyno graph covering my face here. And as you can see, the one thing about AEM that stands above all the other ones is that they are claiming that when they did their dyno test for this intake system, again, keep in mind, it was the full cold air variation, they gained a max horsepower increase of 16 horsepower somewhere throughout the power band. Now, that's actually a really big increase because, to be completely honest, the next highest horsepower gain from a company is a 13 horsepower increase, and that's from K&N filters. I was, you know, kind of shocked to see such a big difference, because some of the other companies that don't have the same amount of money to invest in testing didn't get gains as big as this. They do explain that they did various prototypes, but at the end of the day, they felt that the 2.75 inch diameter intake was the one that gained them the most power. Now, again, this is all in writing, and they have a story on it where you can read and actually see pictures of the prototyped Veloster that they used. This is just really cool and eye-opening to see a story like this and just kind of get an idea of all the testing that these guys did to achieve this. Again, especially considering where most people on Veloster forums are going to be telling you that bigger is better and to get a 3-inch piping intake as opposed to this 2.75. Again, there's some science to be had there. Obviously, I can't really test out these theories and whatnot, but maybe there's some truth to, you know, bigger isn't always better. Also, because I did mention that AEM has quite a bit of money investing in these things, they are also the only company whose intake system is currently legal all the way up to 2016 Veloster models. So some of these other companies do have carb legal status on their intakes, but it doesn't go all the way up to the 2016 models. Some of them only go up to 2014 or even 2013. Alright guys, so hopefully this last tidbit was educational. Again, I know this video was mainly more me talking because it's not that hard to install an intake system. Again, thank you guys for all the love and support. Thanks for watching. Huge shout out to SoCal Garage Works for getting me that intake system incredibly fast. I placed the order over the weekend, as some of you guys that follow me on social media saw, and I literally got it to my doorstep Friday. So highly impressed, very happy. It allowed me to finish the catch can because you know, it's easier to remove the intake to do that, and obviously get this all going all at once. Again, thanks guys for sticking around. Hope to hear feedback from you. What's your favorite intake system? You know, whether it's branding or, you know, it's because it's a larger diameter. Do you guys have a certain color preference? I know some of these companies do certain things when it comes to color. Again, I mentioned AEM only makes the gunmetal or chrome polished. The engine, for example, does a black polished and a chrome polished. 6 makes a flat black. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think. That's interesting. Maybe you guys have a certain preference when it comes to the color of the actual filter element. I'm not quite sure. But again, any feedback, I love talking to you guys, hearing about your projects, seeing your guys' cars. Always, I know I always repeat myself, but thanks for all the love and support. And hopefully I will see you real soon in a new install video. Bye.
Trying to figure it out, but
Luis doesn't know the way.
I don't know the way.